I'd like to thank the grace of heaven, the virtues of the masters, and the compassion and mercy of the grand predecessors, senior transmitters, lecturers, temple masters, and everyone for giving me today this opportunity to learn to talk about the chapter 73 of the Tao Te Ching, or way of the classic of the way and the virtue. Okay, chapter 73. All right, okay. So it's chapter 73. We're over 90% there of the way through the Tao Te Ching of the 81 chapters. So it's the title of this chapter is called Heavenly Net. Okay, and so it's a very interesting chapter. All right, so it's divided into two sections. It's an average length chapter. This chapter is of average, roughly average length. So divided into two sections. The first half is talking about it's about mindful action, being careful, being cautious, being, you can say, almost introspective and self-reflective in one's actions. Okay, all right, okay, pretty much, all right, okay. And it's basically about the difference between, and in what respect the mindful action, or it's talking about difference between bold and reckless, and bold and not reckless. Okay, so that's what it is. Okay, in that respect. Okay, and then the second section is basically the conclusion, or the conclusion, and it's talk about basically, he's saying how the Tao basically captures everything. Okay, it encompasses everything. Now, Lao Tzu uses the metaphor of a giant cosmic net, i.e., the heavenly net, to describe the Tao, but I also use that to describe something else, which we will talk about near the end, and also it'll be much clearer, or in the next chapter, chapter 74. All right, okay, so that's so I should do this in about 65-70 minutes. All right, okay, so let's go to the outline. Okay, where are we here? All right, okay, the first line, first two phrases, it's the bold and daring will be killed, and the bold and not daring will survive. Okay, so let's see. All right, so let's talk about the basic meaning. It's from the Tao perspective, of what Lao Tzu is speaking, Tao perspective, to be bold, that's courageous. Okay, so that's what this first word means. Okay, first word. All right, okay, all right, okay, so that's what that means. Okay, so that's courageous. Okay, you can say it's courage. I mean, it can be a verb or a noun, but yeah, okay, all right, or even adjective. Okay, anyway, but so from Tao perspective, to be bold or courageous, but reckless, that's the daring. Okay, that's the daring. Okay, so 你敢不敢? Sorry. Okay, in Chinese, there's a term we say, I dare you. To dare you. That's 你敢不敢? Okay, 敢不敢, or Okay, so now there's two combination of this and this. 勇敢, it means courage. It means courageous, courage, 勇敢, if you use to combine. But by itself, okay, I mean, it can mean brave too. It can mean courage. I mean, so it's like repetitive, 勇敢. But by itself, 敢 could just means, daring. If you have the dare, you can say courage or audacity, okay, or audacious. Okay, so anyway, so what Lao Tzu is not saying, this is not positive. Okay, this is not positive. What Lao Tzu is not saying that he's saying this is not a positive trait. What he's saying is, if you are bold or courageous, but reckless, that is thoughtless or daring, you'll end up with a negative result, getting killed, for example. Okay, that would be, getting killed is more specific. I mean, it just means negative result. Okay, all right. So another meaning is, and how do we apply it in the kingdom level, or warfare, for example? So in the battlefield war, this means you're brave. That means you're charging courageously. You're being very brave, very courageous. All right, fine. But you're recklessly charging forward, and you're going to enter or go into a trap, okay, like a kill zone. All right. So that's where, you have to use caution, right? You have to be cautious, etc. Okay. So that's okay. And more. Another way is like in life, okay, outside of warfare, in life, this means taking bold action. I'm taking action, being bold, right? Take the initiative, right? You take the initiative, but you don't have a plan. Without a plan, that's the daring part. You just charge forward, right? You want to do something, right? You say you got to do something, but you don't have a plan. You haven't thought out, what the consequences of your action could be, blah blah blah, all that, right? So that's being thoughtless, reckless, or daring, we say. So yeah, you go forward, you do something. You're gonna do something, right? You have to do something, but you didn't have a plan. So that's what it means, okay? This phrase. So it's a good idea to take the initiative, to be proactive, to take action, but doing so without thinking it through, without understanding all the consequences or ramifications of your actions. Then you could end up with negative results or be harmed even, right? Okay, so that's what it says. Okay, so being bold in daring means to not pay attention to what we should be very cautious or prudent within our mind. So that's the more internal aspect. All right. So there's the external, right? You take action, but within ourselves, within our maybe I should put internal here, but okay. It just means that you're not paying attention to what we should be paying attention to. Okay. All right. Okay. In our minds. Okay. All right. Okay. Now there's another meaning, deeper meaning of gan, which is bold or daring or, whatever. So at the general level, broad level, it just means anything that's not in accord with the Tao principles. Yeah, okay, anything that's not in accord. Specific level, it's the relentless pursuit of fame, fortune, and status. Okay, that's the specific, the more narrow, right? Okay, all right. All right, so let's talk about the second phrase, which is the bold in not daring will survive. All right, so this is the opposite, basically, okay? This phrase is the opposite of the first phrase, that is to be bold or courageous and careful or cautious or thoughtful. That's the not daring meaning. We'll end up with a positive result. That is, you'll survive. Okay, so let's look at the battlefield. Let's look at in warfare. In a battlefield war, this means you observe the enemy's deployments. I mean, you're still brave, okay, but you don't charge forward recklessly, okay, and then attack. But then what you do is you observe and see what they're doing, okay, what the enemy is doing, okay, and where the weaknesses are, where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are. So that's the planning part. That's the planning part, right? The thoughtful part, okay, all right, and then you attack their weakness or vulnerability for maximum effectiveness. That's in warfare, all right, okay. So in life, this means taking action with a plan. Okay, not without. The first phrase is without a plan or, idea or whatever. Okay, so this means taking action with a plan where the plan is not too little or too much. That's the key. Okay, not too little, too not. Neither too vague nor too detailed, neither too flexible nor too fixed or rigid. You get it? Okay, need to have just the right balance of planning. Neither extremes of too little or too much planning. That's the middle way of planning. Now, this usually takes some wisdom, okay? Or experience. You can say experience, wisdom, okay? All right? Thoughtfulness, right? Okay? Anything. All right? So that's the key, all right? Okay? All right. So to be bold in not daring, means to be very careful and circumspect, to pay attention to the Tao principles, okay? So, all right? So that's the other meaning, okay? I mean, the more higher level, from a Tao cultivator perspective, you can say, all right? It just means to be very careful and circumspect, to pay attention to the Tao principles, all right? To be mindful. You can say also to follow, if that's more specific, but to be mindful, Tao principles. All right, okay. There's a deeper meaning, understanding of not daring. On the general level, it just means to not do anything that does not conform to the Tao principles. That means to follow the Tao principles. Okay, it's okay, like a double net. So it's to be very cautious and prudent in dealing with matters, to pay careful attention to true principles. This is how we have the wisdom to plan when taking action. That's the key, right? Remember we said, okay, right, up above, right here, right? What kind of plan? I mean, how do you plan? You say, then you ask yourself, well, yeah, okay. I won't rush into action or to doing something. So I have to plan. I have to do some kind of plan. But, what's too little, what's too much, right? What's too flexible, what's too rigid, blah, 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 two extremes. So that takes wisdom. Well, how do you get the wisdom? How do you get the wisdom? You follow the Tao principles, all right? You follow, Tao principles. And also like an example, just very basic, precepts, the rules and regulations, why, that there's a reason why rules and regulations exist, right? Either in the temple, at home, et cetera, okay? The precepts, right? That will help you to align your mind, still the human mind, the conscious mind, align it, be more closely aligned or parallel the Tao principles. Then that's where your wisdom will come out. All right. Okay. So then this is how we have the wisdom to plan when taking action. Now, specific level is to avoid pursuing fame, fortune, wealth, etc., power. All right. Okay. So that's what not daring means. Okay. The higher level. The implication is okay. If we do not pay attention to what we should be careful and circumspect, then we will become bold and reckless in our actions, right? Okay. So conversely, if we pay attention to what so that's the first phrase. Okay. The second phrase is conversely, if we pay attention to what we should be cautious and prudent about, okay, then we will not be bold and reckless in our actions. So if we only pursue fame, fortune, or power, then we may not follow the principles, right, of the Tao. Never mind, some principles, okay, right? If we only just pursue those things, right? So we may end up with negative results or be harmed. But if we conform to the heavenly principles, then we will not pursue fame, fortune, or power. So we will benefit. Yeah, believe it or not, it's kind of like, counterintuitive that, yeah, I'm not pursuing fame, fortune, and power. So how do I benefit, right? But because we have a narrow mindset. We only think that we can only benefit if we have this, right? I mean, that's a very narrow, view, right? Of understanding of, benefit, of gaining benefit. That if we have these three things, then that's when we'll benefit and nothing else. That's not true, right? That's not true, right? Okay. All right. So, okay. All right. So, because if you pursue these, just this, you could end up dead. All right. So I don't think that's a great benefit. You can have all the fame in the world, all the fortune in the universe, or all the power in the universe, but you could be dead. Right. So I don't think that's much of a benefit. Right. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's one example. All right. Okay. So let's see. So if we boldly do not pay attention to the Tao principles, then we will kill the wisdom life of the Dharmakaya. That's to suppress our innate wisdom within us, because we all have that innate wisdom. That's the Dharmakaya wisdom life. I mean, that's the direct translation. Fa Sen Hui Ming. Okay, all right. That's the direct. I mean, it just means that we have this Buddha nature wisdom. We have this innate given wisdom. Now, remember earlier I said, how do you get that wisdom? Right? If you pay attention to the Tao principles, right? Pay attention to the Tao principles. Where is it? Where is it? It's above, right? Right? It's right here. It's right here someplace. I think it's here. All right? It's here. Okay? All right? Okay. So if we pay attention to the Tao principles, that's how we will nurture. It's not really nurture. It's more manifest. Be able to manifest. It'll be easier to manifest the Dharmakaya wisdom, okay, or the wisdom, the innate wisdom. Okay, all right. So, on the other hand, all right, so where is it? Now, if we boldly pay attention to the Tao principles, then we will not dare to do bad things, right? This way, we can conform to the heavenly principles, and by doing things that conform to the true principles and not doing things that do not conform to the true principles, we can benefit this way. So that's the positive result. All right, so let's look at the summary. Okay, summary, mindful action. I call it mindful action. I mean, I call it mindful action because it's the first precursor, first step. Just like in the Eightfold Paths, Buddhist Eightfold Paths. This is the first one. Okay, the first we can say first path, first proper thoughts or mindful, mindful thoughts, proper thoughts, yeah, proper understanding, proper view. Okay, so that's okay. So yeah, you could be motivated. Okay, but motivation alone is not enough. Or you could just take action, just do it without thinking. So that's not enough either, right? So it's both are necessary, but individually they're insufficient, right? So you could be motivated, but if you don't do anything, what good is it, right? So yeah, so motivation is necessary, but by itself insufficient. So is action. Action is necessary, but by itself it's what? it's insufficient, right? So you need both necessary and sufficient conditions. So you have to have both. That's when both are necessary and sufficient. Okay, so you need at least a minimal plan to test things before committing yourself. Just being cautious. That's what I'm saying. Look before you leap, right? Look before you leap. Okay, all right. So, and the key is don't rush. You don't rush. All right, look at nature. Nature doesn't rush. Yes, sometimes nature can have, you can say, very sudden changes. Okay, but that's because of certain circumstances. Okay, I mean, okay, all right. So anyway, all right. So it's no rushing. That's the more follows the general principles of the Tao. Okay, you need to have process. You can't rush, right? You can't rush. Okay, that's where where problems arise. Okay, when you rush things, right? And you need to pay attention to and follow the principles of Tao. This will give you wisdom for the planning of your actions. That's important, right? That's important. Okay, that's important. That's very important. Okay, so you really need all three, right? So you need to be motivated, and then you have to do the action. Okay, all right, okay, all right. So let's go back. Summary, right? Summary. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now let's go to the next 4 phrases of section 1. Okay. So of these two, that's two, meaning the bold and daring and the bold and not daring. That's what it means. Okay. Of these two, one may benefit, the other may harm. The one hated by heaven, who knows the reason? Even sages find it just as difficult. All right, what does that mean? So this is kind of hinting at to the second section. All right, okay, it's getting a hint. All right, okay, or sort of like it's a segue. Okay, it's like a transition to the second section. All right, so the basic meaning is this: there are they're at the general level, at the very broad level, throughout history, in every aspect of life, initiative plus planning will be consistently rewarded. So the thoughtful, that's the not daring, will survive, while the reckless, that's the daring, or the thoughtless, okay, will be killed. Okay, so that's throughout history. Okay, we see that in all aspects of life. I mean, what I'm trying to get at is let's look at nature. Let's look at the biological sphere level. This is the driving force of evolution for all living things. So the reckless, thoughtless, unplanned are weeded out, removed from the gene pool of species. This is the evolutionary fact of the human species, right? So, we have the what's that? The old species of humans. I mean, different, Homo sapien subspecies or whatever we call the Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there are others. There are others. They, a lot of them died out because, they, how can I say? I don't say they're reckless, meaning that they are inflexible. They could not adapt. That's adaptability. When we talk about evolution, it's the ability to adapt, adjust to the changing environment, changing circumstances, et cetera, et cetera. That's how you will survive, right? So that's kind of like being thoughtful, being careful. All right. Okay. All right. So now at the human level, Okay, so human beings have evolved to place a well-deserved premium on intelligence. All right, so but it's not intellectual intelligence, but practical intelligence. All right, so that's how our ancient species, ancestor species, how they survive. It's based on practical intelligence, not intellectual intelligence, not like, I come up with the theory of everything, the theory of quantum mechanics or whatever, not that. That's not practical. That's book knowledge. That's intellectual knowledge or intelligence, right? But practical, like, how to survive when the saber tooth is chasing you or something like that, or whatever, or how to survive in the midst of winter when there's no food, or how to keep warm, right? How to shelter from the elements, stuff like that, right? So that's practical intelligence. All right, so the intelligence to help you survive, ability for critical thought, sound assessment, judgment, maturity, practicality, etc. That's how humans or our species survive, from the very beginning, from the, I don't know, age of, I guess, saber tooth or whatever. Okay, stuff like that. All right. Okay. Anyway. All right. So we tend to avoid and detest recklessness. What's recklessness? Recklessness. That's the lack of ability to think. Being thoughtless. Okay. Reckless, thoughtless. All right. Okay. Why? Because not only do the reckless hurt themselves, but also others as well. That's the problem. That's why we kind of detest, we dislike that, right? We dislike people who are reckless or thoughtless because, not only do they hurt themselves or potential, but they also potentially could hurt me or other people, right? So that's why, okay? So it also seems like all the deities in heaven also loathe them, dislike, hate. I mean, hate is the direct translation of that word. It's kind of strong. It's very, because Lao Tzu wants to emphasize that it's a very negative thing. Okay, so loathe, you can say loathe. Dislike, that's more mild, right? Dislike, loathe. Those who lack practical intelligence, that is the bold in daring as much as we do. All right, so it seems like even heaven, or the way nature, you can say nature, doesn't it has a dislike, wants, don't has because, but don't forget, dislike, loathe, hate are human emotional terms, right? I mean, nature doesn't have that, right? Nature is a-emotional, non-emotional. Okay, but anyway, all right. So then, okay, so all right. So now let's go to the last phrase. Last phrase. What's the last phrase? Last phrase. Where is the last phrase? Okay, here it is. Second line. Okay, I'm going to be the last two phrases. So at the same time, we know the Tao does not have human-like emotions or preferences, right? We say that, right? Okay, the Tao, nature. So the question for the sages is, how is this so? How is this so? Yeah, we know that, nature, or, the Tao in general terms, doesn't have human emotions, but how can we say that, hey, even the Tao or nature dislikes or detests those who are thoughtless or reckless, or, right? How's this so, right? So where it seems that heaven, quote, favors, unquote, those who are not thoughtless, okay, so why does heaven arrange the thoughtless with death, right? Okay, so that's the next two phrases, right? Okay, the second and third phrase, okay, of this section, okay. So another way to say is that whatever heaven loathes or detests, okay, and whatever heaven dislikes, do we know what the reasons are? What's the reasons? So that's what Lao is asking. Okay, what are the reasons? And this will become clear in the next chapter, but it'll lead to the second section. Okay, Okay, all right, of this chapter. So even the sages have a difficult time explaining this in a satisfactory way. I put it for people to understand. Okay, so even the sages have a difficult time explaining this apparent dislike of the Tao or heaven for whatever, for recklessness or thoughtlessness, stuff like that. Okay, even okay, even sages, just like sages have a difficult time explaining what Tao is for people to understand, right? Chapter 1, right? Right? Lao Tzu already said it, right? If I could speak about the Tao, then it's no longer the Tao, the real Tao, the true Tao, right? So same idea, similar idea, okay? All right, so further understanding is, even for the sages who have already cultivated, or like a Tao master, with regards to what heaven, quote, likes, unquote, even they do not understand very well nor very thoroughly, okay? So even at their level, they, that's where the difficulty is, because it's not, it can't, it's very difficult to explain the Tao completely, okay, completely in words, all right, completely, totally, it's not, we hit a barrier, okay? Now, this specific is what heaven likes, why heaven appears to have a bias, you can say, we can say bias, okay, or tendency, maybe that's a better term, tendency or natural tendency to have a preference for this and not for that, right? For this meaning for those who are thoughtful, not not daring, okay, versus those who are thoughtless or reckless and daring, right? So even, okay, so all right, okay. So the implication is this, all right. I mean, it's different, and it'll become clear hopefully in the second section, and also next chapter. We kind of have I put in more specific perspective or light. Okay, all right. So let's see where. Let's do this. Okay, all right. Okay. So both taking action without planning, that's the bold and daring, and taking action with planning, that's the bold and not daring, have harm and benefit. So if those who are fearless, that's without scruples, take actions only based on their own perspectives, their own views, not caring whether they conform or do not conform to principles, this way they will be weeded out by heaven, okay? This is pretty long here, okay? This is the reason why heaven, quote, detests, unquote, those who do not conform to true principles. That's the bold and daring. Those who do not benefit sentient beings. Though these are all what heaven, quote, dislikes, unquote. Yet it is difficult to know what heaven, quote, likes, unquote, or, quote, dislikes, unquote, okay? We do not know all the inner workings of karma, okay? Here's that, causality. But we do know that this is the way it works. So karma is the universal law of causality, and it is true throughout the entire cosmos and all phenomena. So as cultivators, it is very important to believe in the law of causality or the law of karma, okay? All right, so that's why karma is very difficult to understand, because, we only see its effects, unfortunately. We are so short-sighted humans, and mainly in one lifetime, right? And only in one lifetime, okay? All right, or even less, okay? But the karma, unfortunately, goes beyond, right, one lifetime, right? And it's very complicated. It's like a web, and that's where it leads to the second section. All right, okay, all right. So the key point is this, okay? I mean, that should be a separate topic, but anyway, okay. So that's what Lao Tzu is talking. He didn't use the word karma, and you'll see in second section. Okay, so anyway, all right. So this will help us in our lives by taking all actions that conform to the true principles, which is to be bold and not daring. This way we can be in accord with the true principles. So there is benefit. So there is benefit and harm for both. Okay, but the harm will affect our wisdom life of the Dharmakaya. Okay, that's the laws of our innate wisdom. Okay, so what person would know the reason for what heaven detests? This tells us whether to pursue what heaven likes or dislikes. What heaven likes are all good. What heaven dislikes are all evil. We all just need to be able to do good, then that is only proper. But we only need to be able to extend, stretch, and weigh. That's the understanding of the Tao principles. Okay, a minute. This. Okay, all right. So where are we? Okay, so, but we only need to be able to extend, stretch, and weigh our understanding of Tao principles. By extending out and thinking over the truth principles, then we can know all what heaven likes and dislikes. Okay, so basically it just means that we have to have an understanding of the Tao, some sort of understanding of the Tao. Okay, so that's where it goes to chapter 70. Remember chapter 71, without fault, 不病, right? That's what Lao Tzu is trying to point us to. That hey, if you could understand or know the Tao, quote unquote, right? Know the Tao, understand the Tao, know the Tao, then you will be without fault. Then that's to know what heaven likes and dislikes. You get it? So because you'll be congruent with the Tao. Okay, you'll be on. All right. Okay. So all right. So it builds upon the previous previous two the chapter 71. All right, without fault. Okay. All right. So now let's go to 2. Now comes to section 2. All right. So the Tao of heaven does not contend and yet excels in winning. Yeah, in winning. Does not speak and yet excels in responding. Okay, remember these are how the Tao captures everything. Okay, well, okay, so all right. And you can say how it kind of works. Okay, so how it works. Okay, so here it is. It's that the conventional concept is that you have to fight, right? We have to argue, compete, debate, etc. Strive, right? In order to win, right? We have to strive to win. We have to, compete to win, right? We have to debate to win, and you have to fight to win. But Lao Tzu expresses the opposite concept. The Tao itself does not fight. It does not argue. It does not compete. It does not debate, etc. It does not strive with anyone or anything. The Tao itself does not fight anyone, but it always wins in the end. That's what Lao Tzu is saying right here in the first two phrases. Okay, the Tao of heaven. That's no other translation. Just the Tao of heaven does not contend, right? Okay, all right, and yet wins, okay, and yet excels in winning, okay, not just wins, but it excels in winning, okay, all right. So another phrase is that this opens up the possibility that, hey, we do not have to fight, argue, compete, debate, strive, etc., anyone or anything in order to be victorious. In fact, the Tao is about winning victories without having to battle against or contend with anyone. That's the ultimate, quote unquote, battle or ultimate, you could say ultimate way of fight, right? Like Sun Tzu, the techniques or the strategies of Sun Tzu Bing Fa. That's the strategies of warfare. That's the whole essence of that writing, is that the ultimate victory is to win without fighting. yeah. See, so because Sun Tzu was also a student of the Tao, also, he tried to apply the Tao principles, in this case, to warfare. Okay, same idea, all right? Same. Okay, at the personal level, it just means to emulate that. Means the Tao. We also have to let go of the need or urge to fight, argue, compete, debate, etc. Often that need or urge is ego-driven. Okay, so unfortunately, right? Because why is it that it's difficult for us to walk away from fighting, from striving, from arguing, from competing, from debating? It's because a lot of it's driven from our ego. It's because we have the ego. The ego is in control of ourselves. All right. Okay. Of us. All right. So, all right. Okay, this is kind of long here. Okay, not too long. Okay. So further understanding is that the Tao does not contend with anyone or anything. So by not contending with anyone, you are able to let the Buddha nature, our self-nature, manifest, where all that emerges from the Buddha nature conform to the true principles and are good. Okay, we say good. Okay, I mean, from our perspective, from the phenomena perspective, and then non-contention can excel in winning. It can win over all what we are contending for. All right. So that's the key is, we have to let go of the ego in order to be able to do that, to let our Buddha nature manifest. That's the key. Okay. We have to let go of that ego. If we can't, then your Buddha nature will not manifest because it overrides the Buddha nature. All right. Okay. All right. So the basic, and then the third phrase is what? Does not speak and yet excels in responding. Okay, so that's what I mean. The Tao does not say anything, but it constantly reacts to your every move. A positive action will have a positive response, while negative action will have a negative response. That's the law of attraction, right? The like attracts the like, right? actually, this is going to segue into, the second half, okay? The second half about the heavenly net, okay? Which is another way of saying karma, because China back then do not understand the concept of karma, because Buddha, I mean, even though yes, you can say in Hindu religious thinking or philosophy, they do have some concept of karma, but Buddha elaborated more on it, okay? But China at that time was before, during Lao Tzu's time was before Buddha. So there's no in Chinese society back then, or maybe even philosophical thought, they didn't have the concept of karma. But there is also causality though. But they just use a different term to describe it. All right. Okay. So the Tao responds to your thoughts and actions, but it does not speak to you. Rather than praying to the Tao and imagine some kind of answer, it's more effective to live correctly with benevolent, kind thoughts and mindful, thoughtful actions to get the response to manifest in your life. Okay, so rather than to pray, it's better to live correctly. That's like the mindful action, right? To live properly with all these, and then that way you will get the positive response. Okay, so that's the boomerang effect. Okay, so at a personal level, if you do, the law of attraction works. That's the law of attraction, right? So it does not work if all you do just think or talk about it. Remember, right? Okay, so all you do, just think about it. Okay, you'll be motivated. You're thinking about it. You're motivated, but that's all you do. You don't do anything. So that's not. Or you just talk about it, right? That doesn't work either, right? You have to do it, right? Okay. So the further the further understanding is that heaven and earth do not speak, but they will respond to the needs of sentient beings. So the workings of the heavenly nature are very ideal. Very difficult to understand. That's why sages, have difficult time, explaining it to us. They all manifest from true principles, like the bright day and dark night, spring, summer, autumn, and winter. There are no words spoken by heaven, yet everything just happens naturally. All right. Okay. So the deeper understanding of contention is also to strive for fame, wealth, and power. So the higher understanding of not striving and not speaking is not to compete or vie for fame or benefit, not to contend for anything, not to contend with words, not to argue, debate with others. All right, so the implication is that if we contend, then there will be an opposite reaction from heaven. Right? The law of attraction, okay? While if we all do not contend and conform to the true principles, then all things will be able to manifest very ideally. If you live in accordance with the Tao, you will naturally be protected. As long as people's moral nature or character are good, where their thoughts come from their conscience, where they are willing to do good, then it will have an auspicious energy that will soar to the heavens, which heaven will respond in kind without the need for speaking. There's no fighting against the karmic effect. It is the cosmic law of balance, not a deity who speaks. All right. So that's the law of attraction. Okay. So that's another way, Lao Tzu's way of saying, what karmic effects are. Okay. Or similar to like the third Newtonian law, right? The third law of Newtonian mechanics, right? Okay. Right. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Okay. All right. So the key point is this. It is very easy for us to unwittingly enter into contention, right? Yeah, because of our ego usually. Usually this contention is to make us look good. To not contend, we need to be able to inspire and apply our Buddha nature. This way, we will be very broad-minded. Our lives will not have disputes or contention with others. Our lives will be more satisfactory, like being in paradise. So long as people have good moral nature, it's like having auspicious energy, which heaven will respond positively without any words. Okay. All right. So then the next two phrases, it also describes how working. I don't know why this is not bold. It should be bold. Okay. Sorry. It should be bold. Okay. All right. Okay. Is this bold? Yeah, it is bold. Okay. All right. So it's not summoned, but excels. Sorry, it's not summoned and yet comes on its own. It's unhurried and yet excels in planning. Okay, so all right, so okay, shoot. Okay, all right. So these are the next two. Okay, you can say descriptions of how the Tao works. Okay, all right. or how, yeah, you can say the Tao or nature, or, okay. So this phrase is the direct consequence of the previous phrase, right? The previous phrase means does not contend and yet excels in winning, does not speak and yet excels in responding, okay? Where there is no need to speak for the Tao to manifest. It is already present in your life, like it or not, right? Okay. Now, so the Tao will naturally and regularly manifest itself, just like the days and nights, spring, summer, autumn, and winter, right? So in fact, the Tao is everywhere all the time without being summoned. You don't have to call upon the Tao. It's everywhere. The Tao is omnipresent, all right? Okay, so at the personal level, when we emulate the Tao, when we follow the Tao, okay, it means, or when we try to be like the Tao, be congruent, okay, be aligned with Tao, it means you anticipate being needed by others and take care of the need before they even ask. Whoa, yeah, so that's like what it means, like clairvoyance, like, like you already know what people need. You automatically will provide them with the need before even being asked by them. Okay, all right, so okay, now that's the first phrase. Okay, that's summoned and yet comes on its own. Okay, so the second phrase, unhurried and yet excels in planning. What does that mean? So this phrase, okay, confirms our understanding of this chapter, where it is all about not rushing into anything, unhurried, right? But give careful consideration to matters or plan things out beforehand. All right. So the way Tao works is it takes its time. That's how the nature works. That's how the Tao nature works. And things may not happen right away, but it will happen according to the right conditions, not according to our wishes or expectations. So, so we humans think we're smart. So we're trying to, let's say, speed up the natural process, nature's process. Okay. So we come up with hormones, or stuff like that to make, chickens or the livestock grow a lot faster, so that then we can, slaughter them for, maybe make more money, right? Or we use GMO, genetically modify or I guess organisms, right? That's what, to speed up, how the plants will or the crops will yield, its crops or fruits or seeds or whatever. Corn is a big example. Soy, I think, is an example. So that then we can get bigger yields, right? At a shorter period of time, so we can make more money, right? So more efficient, right? So we try to speed things up. Well, nature doesn't work that way, unfortunately. All right. Okay. So, all right. So at a personal level, this is about the state of being calm and proceeding at a pace that is not frantic or rushed. Once again, the middle, being in a calm and unhurried state. It's a middle state. Okay. It's not frantic or rushed, or not too slow that you're not making progress, or you're not doing anything. Okay. So this is the state that most closely parallels the way the Tao operates. When you emulate this, it means you move at a natural and moderate pace, not too fast and not too slow. And you always look ahead to plan out your next move. Okay, so that's the ideal. All right. Okay, so the implication is this. All right, is that the Tao and karma is always present. Right. So that's that. Lao Tzu did not use the term karma. Okay, he's going to use the word heavenly net. That's what I mean. Or you can say cosmic net, heavenly net. Okay, but he's described the Tao also. The Tao. Okay, are always present. It is not, there's no need to request their presence to say, hey, come on, Tao, show up, Tao, or come on, karma, come on, show up. No, it doesn't work that way. Karma takes its time and may not happen right away based on our expectations, right? Okay. All right. We like to see instant karma, but that doesn't always happen, right? Okay. Okay. Likewise, as Tao cultivators, we must emulate the Tao in how we, sorry, this is a typo, how we deal with matters. Oops, how we deal with matters in our lives. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Let's save this. Okay. All right. So the key point is this: without being summoned, the Tao will naturally manifest itself. This is the nature of the heavenly Tao. The manifestations of Tao and karma work according to their own schedule. Okay. And may not be immediate. Sometimes karma is instant, but most of the time it takes its time. Most of the time it takes time. For summary of some of the prescriptions, the Tao, karma, and essence, we see some. Okay, so so Lao Tzu did not use the word karma, but he was describing the Tao, but also it's called the heavenly net. Okay, so that's what karma represents. Okay, let's go to Part two. Okay, part two. What's the Tao? The Tao, karma, and cultivator. So there's no use in fighting against the karmic effect. There's no need. Okay, I mean you can't go against the tide. Okay, it's that means you're gonna lose. Okay, you're gonna lose. Not only that lose, you're gonna repeat the karma. Okay, so that's no use. Okay, all right, to fight against. Okay, so and what's that? It's the way the Tao works and karma works, and as a human, as a cultivator, it's based on cosmic law of balance. It's not a person who speaks, okay, not a deity who talks to you, and then no, it's not about that. It's just naturally the Tao, karma, and we should balance, okay, should be balanced, okay, in everything we do, in how we deal with everything. All right. So, and yet the Tao, karma, it's always present. Okay, there's no need to request its presence. Okay, it's always there. It's always there. Okay, it's silent, but it's always there. Okay, and it takes its time and may not happen right away. Okay, so that's the key thing to remember. All right, so let's go back. We're getting there soon. Okay, all right, so we're near the end. All right, okay, so the last sentence of last two phrases. So he calls this the heavenly net. It's vast, loose, and yet does not let anything slip through. Okay, so now this word, so he repeats. Okay, anytime in Chinese, usually when you repeat it, it means you stress emphasis, you emphasize it. Okay, so it's like a double emphasis. Okay, that means it means it's very important. Okay, so okay, all right, so that this hui means it's big. It just means big, great, immense, etc. Vast. Okay, all right, okay. So basic meaning of the line is: imagine a fish caught in a net, and extend this metaphor to imagine all of existence contained in an invisible, formless net. Yeah, so all of existence, or all phenomena. Okay, so that's what the heavenly net is. That's how vast it is. Okay, it's vast. Okay, and it's loose. We'll talk about why loose, but nothing can slip through it. Okay, so but the net is loose. It's not tight like the fish net. And it's not doesn't what does it mean by loose? Means that it doesn't fight or contend or struggle against the things caught in it. It doesn't do that. It doesn't. It's just there. So like imagine a fish net, right? Like these giant fishing nets that those trawler ships use to farm the oceans. That they scoop up the ocean, ocean floor or ocean, and everything that's caught up in it. And then when the fishes or whatever living, the creatures try to escape from it, the net will close up, will tighten it up. Okay, I forgot what that term is called. It's called. It's a term for that type of net fishing. Anyway, so it's not like that. That's not that. It does not fight or contend. Okay, but yet it's just there. It's always there, and nothing can escape from it. So that's the fascinating thing. That's why it's difficult to understand, to be able to explain it so that people understand. Okay, so you cannot accomplish anything if you fight against it. You may struggle against it, but you cannot free yourself of it, nor will it change anything. That's the key. All right. Okay, I mean, that's where, you think you can, I can escape the cosmic net or the heavenly net. You can't escape karma. Okay, it's going to catch up. You can run, but you can't hide. Okay, I mean, it's going to catch up to you. Okay, sooner or later. Okay, all right. So the net does not speak, but it responds naturally to every move you make. You can struggle against it, but it will simply expand or shrink accordingly. Okay, it'll accommodate you. I mean, but you can't escape its grasp. Okay, that's the thing. All right. So the implication is that. I'm almost done here. Okay, all right. The heavenly net is the Tao. That's one way of Lao Tzu's describing. Okay, it does not judge either positively or negatively. It just returns back what was done. Right, the law of attraction. Okay, what was done. The heavenly net is also a description for karma. Okay, it's a description. That's because remember, in Lao Tzu's time, there was they're not aware of the term karma, that was used by Buddha, right? Okay, because Buddha came a little bit after Lao Tzu anyway. Okay, so that time Buddhism has not been introduced into China yet, but he used the heavenly net as a description for karma. Okay, so that's the law of cause and effect, aka law of causality. So it is not limited to a single lifetime. It covers everything in existence. That's the vastness, the hui hui means, okay? So the heavenly net may seem loose, su, it means loose, okay? Loose, not tight, okay? Because it's not visible or tangible, but you cannot escape from it. This, you must be responsible for your own actions, whether you are being observed by others or not. But your actions are always being observed by your conscience. There's always an observer. That's the observer effect. We don't know it. We don't realize it. Even though you think you're alone all by yourself, well, there is, there's one observer that can see, or, that can observe everything that you do, and that's your conscience. So this is always the observer effect. There's always the observer effect present. Okay, so let's go to part 3. We're nearly done here. Okay, so that's the heavenly net. Okay, that's another Lao Tzu's way of describing the Tao and karma or karma. Okay, so the positive or negative energies you dish out will come back to you. That's a universal law. That's the law of causality. All right. So positive. So also law of attraction, you can call it that way. Okay. So the positive or negative energies you dish out. All right. Okay. So you may not be aware of your positive impact or how negative you are. So you should, now in terms of practical everyday life, right? Sometimes we may not be aware, right? We know we're not cognizant of whether we have a positive or negative impact on others. So we should try to get opinion. We should try to get an opinion. All right. So, all right. Okay. So then lastly is that these are just a couple bullet points, some thoughts, but you could add others. But we must believe there is a universal law of causality. That's the law of karma. It's real and true. Okay. So even though we may not see its effects or results within our lifetime. All right. So that's right. Okay. But we can observe it in things that will, not, like in nature that we see that, may happen within our lifetimes. So like, stuff like, global warming, maybe we can see its effects later, in our lifetimes. But anyway, all right. So things, all right. So we can see that. All right. So that's all right. So, all right, let's go to the conclusion. I'm almost out of time here. Okay. All right. So the conclusion is this, the key point is this, all right? The Tao is like a net that stretches across the cosmos. This matrix of existence is loose and relaxed, and yet it takes everything into account and does not leave anything out. Those who possess courage act in harmony with this heavenly net and thus appear to be favored by heaven. So that's why if you possess courage and act in harmony, then we are bold in not daring. Remember, we are bold in being thoughtful or not being reckless, right? That's to act in harmony with this heavenly net. Okay, so therefore it appears that heaven will favor you. Okay, because that's how the heavenly net works. All right. Okay, so this connects back to the first line, right? Where those who possess courage and act recklessly or do not conform to the heavenly principles, rushing blindly without knowing what one is getting into, that's without thinking or planning, or thoughtless, will end up being harmed, right? Or die, right? While those who possess courage and act with caution, that's to conform to the heavenly principles, thinking things through ahead of time, that's having consideration or planning or being thoughtful, mindful, right? Will reap the rewards. That's how it connect, right? Okay, so where careful resolve brings benefits, while the reckless or thoughtless charge brings harm. It is as if heaven dislikes those who are rash and punishes them accordingly. So this is how karma works, where this karma is the universal law and its inner workings are very complex and not obvious, that one may not completely understand the reasons, so that even sages have difficulty explaining it for people to understand. Okay, for us to understand. So it's not, it's very complex, right? That's the problem with karma. Okay, just like the Tao, right? Okay, but it does work, but it's very difficult to understand how it works. Okay, so perhaps this is due to the nature of the heavenly Tao, where the Tao contends with no one and yet wins out in the end. That's hard to explain too, right? Or even understand. 2, it is silent and yet instantaneously responsive. Okay, so it's like the boomerang effect, right? The like for the like, right? Et cetera, law of attraction, et cetera, et cetera. 3, it does not need to be called upon and yet manifests in everything, right? It's omnipresent, right? 4, it is never rushed and yet its infinite power creates, coordinates, and organizes every event in the cosmos, right? It manifests throughout, okay, at its own pace, all right, at its own pace. Now, this is also how karma or the law of causality works as well, okay, just like how the heavenly Tao works, all right, okay, so, all right, 1, where karma has no strife with anything or anyone, and yet it always manifests. That's to win out in the end, right? Karma does not strive. It doesn't have to struggle or contend with anything or anybody, but yet it always will manifest, right? Will happen, will occur, whether, in the near future or in the distant future, right? Okay. 2, karma does not speak and yet always responds to everything positively or negatively, right? The law of attraction again, all right? Okay. All right. 3, it has no need, karma has no need to be summoned, and yet it is always present throughout space and time, right? Karma encompasses the entire phenomena, existence, cosmos, etc. All right. Okay. The law of causality, nothing escapes from the law of causality as long as there's phenomena. Okay. 4, karma is never in a rush, and yet it always bears fruit sooner or later, right? That's how karma works too, right? Okay. So now, so that's what the heavenly net, it describes the Tao and also it describes karma. Okay. So this is how, okay. All right. How, okay. This is also how the authentic Tao cultivator should emulate the Tao. 1, where if we possess courage and act in accordance with the heavenly principles and our conscience, then we can achieve our objectives in the long run without being contentious, without contending, striving, arguing, debating, etc. Okay. 2, whereby being calm and quiet while remaining sensitive to external conditions, we are ready to alter our approach quietly and efficiently when circumstances change. So we're flexible, we're not rigid, right? Okay. So we do have that, just the right amount of planning, right? Just the right amount of thoughtfulness, mindfulness, okay? 3, where we are all fully present in our actions by being aware and mindful of the here and now. We enhance and deepen everything we do by being mindful, thoughtful, okay, careful, cautious, etc. All right, you're always in that moment. Okay, we're always in a moment that you can say it's almost like wu wei, okay, like that. All right, okay. 4, where if we possess courage in accordance with the Tao, then we too can be unhurried and well prepared. We take our time in thoughtful planning so we can act with composure and maximize our chance of success. All right, so that's where that proper pace, it's not not too slow or not too fast. All right, so that's the pace. Okay, all right, so this, almost done. Okay, so this is how the Tao, karma, and the authentic Tao cultivators operate. For those who possess courage and conform to the Tao, is to act in harmony within this vast heavenly net. This is why the Tao and karma is like a net that is so vast, yet loose and relaxed, where nothing can slip from it. This is called the heavenly net. All right, okay, I've just finished right on time. So I like to, this concludes chapter 73. Now, in next chapter, chapter 74 will tie together chapter 73 and 71, 2 and 1 in a sense. So just give you a heads up that actually, 71, 72, 73, 74 all have some connection, especially 73 and 74. All right. Okay. So 74 will be more elaborate. We'll go a little bit more in detail about one of the characteristics, or one, you can say, aspect of this heavenly net. okay, about a specific aspect of the heavenly net. Or you can say, yeah, it deals with karma, what we call karma, all right? Okay, in a more specific detail. All right, okay, so this concludes chapter 73. I'd like to thank the grace of heaven. I'd like to thank all the Buddhas and Lao Tzu for giving me this opportunity to learn to speak about this. And if I said anything that's incorrect or wrong, I ask for their guidance, correction, and everybody else's guidance. Thank you.